Hello Internet! Welcome back to another episode of Life of Pi. Today we will be reading chapters 31 and 32, as 31 is kind of a trick. It makes you think that it's longer, but a lot of it is just dialogue which can be got through rather quickly. Sorry, grammarizing myself during the mid-sentence there. So we will be doing just that, and here we go. Chapter 31. They met once, Mr. and Mr. Kumar. Oh, I was hoping they would at some point. I think that's going to be very, very interesting. I think moments when two people who teach you meet and watching how they interact is a very interesting thing. So I'm actually really excited about this. The banker and the teacher. The first Mr. Kumar had expressed the wish to see the zoo. All these years and I've never seen it. It's so close by too. Will you show it to me? He asked. Yes, of course, I replied. It would be an honor. We agreed to meet at the main gate the next day after school. I worried all that day. I scolded myself. You fool! Why did you say the main gate? At any time there will be a crowd of people there. Have you forgotten how plain he looks? You'll never recognize him. If I walked by him without seeing him, he would be hurt. He would think I changed my mind and I didn't want to be seen with a poor Muslim baker. He would leave without saying a word. He wouldn't be angry. He would accept my claims that it was the sun in my eyes, but he wouldn't want to come to the zoo anymore. I could see it happening that way. I had to recognize him. I would hide and wait until I was certain it was him. That's what I would do. But I had noticed before that it was when I tried my hardest to recognize him that I was least able to pick him out. The very effort seemed to blind me. At the appointed hour I stood squarely before the main gate of the zoo and started rubbing my eyes with both hands. What are you doing? It was Raj, a friend. I'm busy. You're busy rubbing your eyes? Go away. Let's go to Beach Road. I'm waiting for someone. Well, you'll miss him if you keep rubbing your eyes like that. Thank you for the information. Have fun on Beach Road. How about Government Park? I can't, I tell you. Come on. Please, Raj, move on. He went. I went back to rubbing my eyes. Will you help me with my math homework, Pi? It was Ajith, another friend. Later. Go away. Hello, Piscine. It was Miss Radhakrishna, a friend of Mother's. In a few more words, I eased her on her way. Excuse me, where's LaPorte Street? A stranger. That way. How much is admission to the zoo? Another stranger. 5 rupees. The ticket booth is right there. Has the chlorine got to your eyes? It was Mamaji. Hello, Mamaji. No, it hasn't. Is your father around? I think so. See you tomorrow morning. Yes, Mamaji. I'm here, Piscine. My hands froze over my eyes. That voice. Strange in a familiar way. Familiar in a strange way. I felt a smile welling up in me. Salam alaikum, Mr. Kumar. How good to see you. Wa alaikum as salama. Is something wrong with your eyes? I'm sorry about mispronunciation of anyone who speaks, I believe they said this was Arabic. So I'm sorry for any mispronunciation. I don't mean to offend. I'm just bad at languages. Actually, fun fact about my life, I'm really bad at living languages. Like I tried to do French immersion when I was younger, and I tried to pick it up again as a late teenager. Couldn't pick it up, but I have taken Old English and Middle English classes for my degree, and I actually can pick it up somewhat. I can actually get well enough in Old English and Middle English, which a lot of people think is very similar to modern English, and it's not. It's very, I wouldn't say Latin, it's not quite, but it's more like Icelandic and like Norse and like, sorry, those regional dialects is where we get a lot of Old English and Middle English influence, and yeah, so it's fun fact about me. I can't pick up any living languages, but the 2 dead languages that I've tried to pick up, I've done reasonably well in. No, nothing, just a bit of dust. They look quite red. It's nothing. He headed for the ticket booth, but I called him back. No, not for you, master. It was with pride that I waved the ticket collector's hand away and showed Mr. Kumar into the zoo. He marveled at everything, and how to tall trees came tall giraffes, how carnivores were supplied with herbivores and herbivores with grass, how some creatures crowded the day and others the night, how some that needed sharp beaks had sharp beaks and others that needed limber limbs had limber limbs. made me happy that he was so impressed. He quoted from the Holy Quran. In all this, there are messages indeed for a people who use their reason. In all this, there are messages indeed for a people who use their reason. I do like that. I've never read any of the Holy Quran, but I like that idea that in everything there is a message for people who use reason. For example, in just that bit, using that logic, you could say that you have everything you need, whether you know it or not in the moment. Everything you need, you already have. It's just the extra stuff that we don't really know about that we have to find and get, kind of thing. We came to the zebras. Mr. Kumar had never heard of such creatures, let alone seen one. He was dumbfounded. They're called zebras, I said. Have they been painted with a brush? No, they look like that naturally. What happens when it rains? Nothing. The stripes don't melt? No. I had brought some carrots. There was one left, a large and sturdy specimen. I took it out of the bag. At that moment I heard a slight scraping of gravel to my right. It was Mr. Kumar coming up the railing in his usual limping and rolling gait. Hello, sir. Hello, Pie. The baker, a shy but dignified man, nodded at the teacher, who nodded back. An alert zebra had noticed my carrot and came up to the low fence. It twitched its ears and stamped the ground softly. I broke the carrot in two and gave one half to Mr. Kumar and one half to Mr. Kumar. Thank you, Piscine, said one. Thank you, Pie, said the other. Mr. Kumar went first, dipping his hand over the fence. The zebra's thick, long black lips grasped the carrot eagerly. Mr. Kumar wouldn't let go. The zebra sank its teeth into the carrot and snapped it in two. It crunched loudly on the treat for a few seconds, then reached for the remaining piece, lips following over Mr. Kumar's fingertips. He released the carrot and touched the zebra's soft nose. It was Mr. Kumar's turn. He wasn't so demanding of the zebra. Once it had its half of the carrot between its lips, he let go. The lips hurriedly moved the carrot into the mouth. Mr. and Mr. Kumar looked delighted. A zebra, you say, said Mr. Kumar. That's right, I replied. It belongs to the same family as the ass and the horse. The Rolls Royce of equids, said Mr. Kumar. What a wondrous creature, said Mr. Kumar. This one's a giant zebra, I said. Mr. Kumar said, Iquis burchelli bohemi. Mr. Kumar said, Allahu Akbar. I said, it's very pretty. We looked on. Again, I like that idea of the two teachers meeting. It wasn't as philosophical as I thought. I was kind of expecting a debate between the two of them. I was expecting, science versus religion, because one is the Mr. Kumar who inspires Pi to go into biology, zoology. One is the Mr. Kumar who brings him into Islam. So I thought that would be an interesting philosophical debate, but I still enjoyed what happened anyway. I thought that was very nice and interesting. Chapter 32. There are many examples of animals coming to surprising living arrangements. All are instances of that animal equivalent of anthropomorphism, zoomorphism, where an animal takes a human being, or another animal, to be one of its kind. The most famous case is also the most common, the pet dog, which has so assimilated humans into the realm of doghood as to want to mate with them, a fact that any dog owner who has had to pull an enormous dog from the leg of a mortified visitor will confirm. Our golden agouti and spotted paca got along very well, contentedly huddling together and sleeping against each other until the first was stolen. I've already mentioned our rhinoceros and goat herd, and the case of the circus lion. There are confirmed stories of drowning sailors being pushed up to the surface of the water and held there by dolphins, a characteristic way in which these marine mammals help each other. A case is mentioned in the literature of a stoat and a rat living in a companion relationship, while other rats presented to the stoat were devoured by it in the typical way of stoats. Oh, that's not nice. We had our own case of freak suspension of the predator-prey relationship. We had a mouse that lived for several weeks with the vipers. While other mice dropped to the terrarium disappeared within 2 days, this little brown Methuselah built itself a nest. stored the grains we gave it in various hideaways, and scampered about in plain sight of the snakes. We were amazed. We put up a sign to bring the mouse to the public's attention. It finally met its end in a curious way. A young viper bit it. Was the viper unaware of the mouse's special status? Unsocialized to it, perhaps? Whatever the case, the mouse was bitten by a young viper, but devoured, and immediately, by an adult. If there was a spell, it was broken by the young one. Things returned to normal after that. All mice disappeared down the viper's gullet at the usual rate. In the trade, dogs are sometimes used as foster mothers for lion cubs. Though the cubs grow to become larger than their caregiver and far more dangerous, they never give their mother trouble and never loses her placid behavior or her sense of authority over her litter. Signs have to be put up to explain to the public that the dog is not live food left for the lions, just as we had to put up a sign pointing out that rhinoceroses are herbivores and do not eat goats. What could be the explanation for zoomorphism? Can't a rhinoceros distinguish big from small, tough hide from soft fur? Isn't it plain to a dolphin what a dolphin is like? I believe the answer lies in something I mentioned earlier, the measure of madness that moves life in strange but saving ways. The golden agouti, like the rhinoceros, was in need of a companionship. The circus lion don't care to know that the leader is a weakling human. The fiction guarantees their social well-being and starves off violent anarchy. As for the lion cubs, they would positively kneel over with fright if they knew their mother was a dog, for that would mean they were motherless, the absolute worst condition imaginable for any young, warm-blooded life. I'm sure even the adult viper, as it swallowed the mouse, must have felt something in its undeveloped mind, a twinge of regret, a feeling that something greater was just missed, an imaginative leap away from the lonely, crude reality of a reptile. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I guess I never thought of that when it comes to dogs humping human legs as them literally trying to mate. I've never spent that much time thinking about the subject, to be honest. But yeah, I guess that is kind of what they're doing. Zoomorphism. So I mean, and I guess it could be true that we've kind of, in a way, started to do that as well. I mean, it's very common now to call dogs fur babies, dogs and cats fur babies and things like that. So I guess we're kind of in a stage where we're also zoomorphizing these animals into small humans. Which is an interesting concept, and where does that lead us? Does that lead us into a stage where now we are falling to zoomorphism? And that makes it even more interesting, because we could say for some reason, we could expect that somehow these dolphins aren't able to differentiate these humans. The viper wasn't able to differentiate the mouse for some reason, some disassociation kind of thing. But people who call their dogs and cats fur babies can clearly, logically distinct these animals and tell that, this cat is not a human and this dog is not a baby kind of thing. But yet we're still doing that. We're still doing the same sort of zoomorphism that the viper and the dolphin and the lions, the lions and the dogs are doing. So where does that lead us? Why are we doing this sort of thing? Why are we, I have a friend, and there's also a famous YouTuber that are called Bird Mom. Like, they both call themselves Bird Mom, but clearly, logically they understand that they are not literally the mothers of these birds. So what sort of zoomorphism is going on there? And I think it comes down to, again, this stage of a sense of loneliness, maybe not, depending to different degrees. It's not just the, single cat lady, crazy cat lady scenario sort of thing. There are people who have friends, have romantic partners, that sort of thing, but they still have this animal that they call their baby of some sort, of another species, as humans are animals. So that gets to an interesting debate of where does that lead? What does that bleed into? What does that become? And perhaps, I think it is a sense of loneliness. It's a sense of sense of fulfillment, that is, to understand why this thing is happening. Is I think it's a association in that I need someone that I feel this emotional connection with, but it's something more than a master-pet sort of a relationship. It is this paternal relationship. It's more of it is more of a I care for you, and I protect you, and I look out for you. It's not I'm a master to you, because a master kind of leads into that master-slave domain, and I don't think that fits properly with pets. It's not, usually we're not making them work for us. I mean, there is the small things such as, fetching slippers, getting the newspaper, that sort of thing. Those are small things. But we literally, in a way, we literally train animals like children now. We have to potty train them. We have to, teach them very basic things, what they can and can't eat, what they, where they can and can't go, whether they're indoor or outdoor. They still have a limitation. Even if you let them out into the yard, it's a teaching of don't go beyond that yard kind of thing in a lot of cases. There are, I guess, free-range animal parents that would, I suppose, take in perhaps strays or something like that and let them go about the neighborhood and then still come back at the end of the day. But that idea of zoomorphism is very interesting, and I like that idea. I had never considered it, again, in this much detail before, but yes, the idea that perhaps we're not only other animals can't associate another species with their own, but that humans do it is, a much, to me, a much more interesting concept, because where does that stem from? Is that a loneliness thing? And then it gets into, what about the people who don't? I mean, you can always say, well, maybe they're lonely on a subconscious level, but the people who don't seem to be lonely, why would they do it? They wouldn't have a reason to, because they would already feel this socialization happening with them, with other humans, so they wouldn't need someone of another species doing it. And then it gets into, what about that viper scenario? Because, if the viper had literally just thought the mouse was another viper, then the baby viper biting the mouse shouldn't have triggered a disassociation. To it should have just appeared as though the viper had bitten another snake. Sorry, I was looking over there, my phone just went off. But some reason the bite of the viper biting the mouse set off a disassociation for the original snake that had associated the mouse with a snake. And it doesn't say that there was only one snake there. I believe it said it was in a pit of snakes. Let me see if I can find that to correct myself. It said we had a mouse that lived for several weeks with the vipers. So that that could just be the two, but if it was several weeks, it wouldn't make sense for the baby viper to just bite the mouse after several weeks. So where does that lead to? That is interesting. That is very interesting. What would cause that sudden disassociation? And I don't know. I don't know what I think of that. I don't know what to think of that. I don't know if there's been any looks into that, especially that individual case or something along the same lines, but it's certainly interesting. That's really all I've got to say, is that it is indeed interesting. Beyond that, I don't really know. If there was something, if you have an answer, feel free to comment below, or if there was something in there that you wanted me to talk about more specifically, feel free to comment below. As always, please feel the need, if you want to, if you feel the need, there we go. Please, if you feel the need, like and subscribe to keep track with these videos. You know, where are we now? We are chapter 33. It looks like we're about, I would say we're over the quarter mark. We're over the quarter of the book. We're almost at page 100, and there's how many in the book? 300. So yeah, we're almost at a third now. So that's great. We're almost at a third way through the book. Wow. That's all I've really got to say. Yeah, feel free to like and subscribe if you want to. Thank you, and have a good one.